You told us Friday you have a breaking story concerning ATF's Operation Fast and Furious, and you do. It's about a federal statute called the Kingpin Act. Tell us what you found out about this in relation to Fast and Furious.
Well, we've been hearing a lot about Fast and Furious, but what we haven't been hearing about until today is what laws might have been violated. And a lot of attention is focused on the gun sales and so forth, but we have a piece at PJ Media today that says that it's very likely that the Justice Department and officials in there violated what's called the Kingpin Act. The Kingpin Act prohibits essentially dealing with drug cartels, criminal organizations, or international conspiracies like the Sinaloa cartel in Mexico. And it's an absolute prohibition with criminal and civil penalties, unless, and this is a very big unless, all caps, the U.S. Attorney General requested specifically a waiver, what's called a specific license, from the U.S. Treasury Department. So it's sort of a catch-22 now for Eric Holder and his crowd. It's either a violation of the Kingpin Act or Attorney General Eric Holder made a specific request from the Treasury Department to allow Fast and Furious to happen.
So you're saying he had to go right to the Treasury Department, they had to be involved, and if this is really true and they violated this, some pretty heavy-duty penalties come along with this.
Prison comes along with it. I mean, there's an absolute prohibition on dealing with international criminal cartels under this statute that was passed in the last decade. It's called the Kingpin Act. There's also another statute called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act that is the second statute that is probably violated, and it criminalizes any transactions between the federal government and all foreign drug cartels. So even if you weren't dealing with the drug cartel directly, if you were causing guns to go to foreign drug cartels, you have almost certainly violated the International Emergency Economic Powers Act.
How did you find out about this?
Well, that's a great question. PJ Media, of course, is very good at finding these things out.
Yeah, I know. But I wondered if somebody had come to you with it, the information.
Well, the author of the article at PJ Media, which I strongly encourage everybody to read because it really gets into the nuts and bolts. If you care about Gun Runner, you want to read this. It was written by a man named Jim Steinbauer, and he's a former Navy intelligence officer and worked at the Senate Intelligence Committee and also as a naval attaché in helping to draft this legislation in the last decade. And so, he's been following Fast and Furious, and PJ Media got him to write about it because he said, look, this is totally violating federal law, and nobody, not even the New York Times or the Washington Post or all the predictable, useless media organizations have figured it out. But today, PJ Media reported it.
And nobody in Congress has asked anybody about this. It'd be interesting to see what happens Thursday. I mean, have you made this information available to Congressman Issa so somebody on that committee can say and raise this question with Holder about this Kingpin Act?
Well, I haven't personally, but I know members of Congress read PJ Media on Fast and Furious coverage. So let's hope and assume that they've done their homework, and they can ask whether Attorney General Eric Holder specifically sought an exemption from the Kingpin Act and the Trading with the Enemy Act to moving guns into Mexico.
Serious violations, but it's interesting because when I was reading the article, I mean, the irony, if the Treasury Secretary finds that the laws have been violated, he has to refer the matter to guess who?
Yeah,
Attorney General Eric Holder for enforcement.
Look, it's the same thing with the new Black Panther case. Whenever they ordered me not to comply with that subpoena to the Civil Rights Commission, guess who had to enforce the subpoenas? It's the Attorney General. So once again, when you have lawless behavior in the Department of Justice, what you get is lawlessness.
Yeah, and if somebody's going to bring it to the attention, something needs to be done about it if it's really true and it's serious. We're talking serious violations.
Well, it is. There, again, this all came out after 9/11. They passed this law to really, really prohibit any sort of trading with the enemy. That's literally what the original law was called, was the Trading with the Enemy Act. And they essentially amended the Trading with the Enemy Act in this International Emergency Economic Powers Act to criminalize anything, any transaction between the federal government and drug cartels. And it seems to be that that's exactly what happened here.
So letting guns walk falls into that.
Oh, I don't think there's any question that it does.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, boy. I sure hope to see if somebody brings that up on Thursday. Switching gears just a little bit, talking about documents, more documents dumped by the Justice Department, some 1,400 pages. Sure looks like somebody misled Congress. Your reaction from what you've been able to find out from these documents that have been released so far?
Yeah, it's a great question. I have a piece up at PJ Tattler right now, and it names the names of some of the people who were scheming to mislead Congress. I call it Holder supporting caste. And they range, of course, from the familiar, at least to me, Tracy Schmaler, who is the Office of Public Affairs person who's in charge there. But it may extend to somebody named William Newell, an ATF special agent, Jason Weinstein. But most interesting is what Lisa Monaco was doing in this document dump. She's a political aide at Justice. She was pointing out the fact that a lot of these responses were false. And despite Monaco's efforts to make this thing more truthful, it still went to Congress untruthful.
Yeah, and there, everybody started to point fingers again. The February 4th letter keeps coming up, and the Deputy Attorney General James Cole is admitting there are inaccuracies in this letter. They actually pulled the letter. And word is that, Lanny Brewer's saying, he didn't see it, but word is he saw drafts of it.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, this is no different. Once again, anybody who wants to understand Fast and Furious should read my book Injustice, because I describe exactly what happened in the new Black Panther case. They do the exact same playbook. It's deny and lie until you get caught, and then say, "Oh, well, I'm sorry, we made a mistake in the original letter." They did the exact same thing in Black Panthers. They're doing it again in Fast and Furious. I
got to ask you, because there's some out there who are saying that this document dump is time to give Holder cover. You think that's true? I mean, you think he's going to give us any new information when he gets up there Thursday, or is he going to stick to his same old story?
Well, listen, all Friday document dumps are always designed to help the people doing the dumping.
And get no media coverage, right?
Well, that's right. But the more important question is how aggressive are members of Congress going to be at Holder's oversight? Mm-hmm. I mean, you cannot have people not showing up like happened last time. You have got to have people well armed with follow-ups, not just initial questions. And every time that happens to Holder, he always gets sizzled by people like John Culberson of Texas, or Senator Cornyn of Texas. Yes. They can get under his skin very quickly, because we've learned one thing: it's very thin.
And Christian, I want to ask you what about this email from former U.S. Attorney Dennis Burke from Arizona? And he writes, "What is so offensive about this whole project is that Grassley staff acting as willing stooges for the gun lobby. No commentary by Grassley on lax laws, nor greedy gun shop owners, nor careless straw purchasers. And nope, just demonize ATF with a strategically timed repulsive letter emailed the entire press world before we ever saw it." Isn't that an indication of what this is all about to begin with?
Well, it is, and it doesn't surprise me, because this is, what this administration does when it comes to justice, is they go after the accusers. They did it to Neil Monroe at the Daily Caller 2 weeks ago, when Eric Holder shook his finger in his face and blamed conservative outlets like the Daily Caller and PJ Media for concocting Gunrunner. They did it in the Black Panther dismissal. They go after the people who criticize their behavior in very personal terms. It should give everybody chills who have respect for limited government.
But, I mean, they make reference to lax gun laws and greedy gun shop owners. Greedy gun shop owners? These gun shop owners were recruited by the ATF to do their work.
They were, and they were doing the work for them under fear they might lose their ATF gun sales licenses. But it just shows you the disconnect from reality of the policymakers. I mean, this has always been about the Second Amendment. Go look at the articles from 2 years ago in the Washington Post, and you could see administration officials from ATF complaining about guns in Mexico. And it's, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know what was going on here.
Well, I was just listening to Fox, and they say word is that Burke's going to be appearing before congressional investigators next week. So this thing is just getting deeper and deeper. I wonder if we're really ever going to find out, though, what went on.
Well, we already are. We're finding out a lot now. PJ Media is on top of it, and we will continue to do so.